Okay, let's talk about paragraphs. So let's start by taking a look at the structure. We have a topic sentence, and then you have a claim. After the claim, you have evidence. And we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at all these things. Okay, then you have commentary. You then have transition. You have a new claim. You have new evidence. And finally, well, not finally, almost finally, penultimately, you have new commentary. And then you end with the conclusion. So let's go back and let's take a look at what the critical points are. Okay, in the topic sentence, you need to make sure that this topic sentence is a nice broad umbrella. See, that's my umbrella. It's a weird looking umbrella, but that's okay. But it needs to be a broad enough umbrella that both argument number 1 and argument number 2 fit within that broad umbrella. So let's take a look and see if that is in fact true. Eugene Lazowski was, please proofread, a heroic man willing to provide for the innocent. Okay, so providing for the innocent is the topic here, that he was heroic, providing for the innocent. So now we have to check each of our topics, or each of our claims. Knowing that it was forbidden to treat ill Jews, Lazowski bravely helped people living in parts of the ghetto. Does helping people who live in this ghetto, helping people who are ill, does that fit underneath providing for the innocent? Yes. Okay, good. Now let's check the second half. Lazowski is brave for risking his life to save people from Nazi persecution. Does saving people from Nazis also fit under providing for the innocent, being heroic for providing for the innocent? Yes. So the first thing that we need to check for, and that is, do each of the claims fit underneath the umbrella of the topic sentence? My answer is yes. So far we're looking really good. So let's now change our focus to how good is this first argument. So, knowing it was forbidden to treat ill Jews, Lazowski bravely helped people living in parts of the ghetto. All kinds of illnesses would run rampant throughout parts of, I have no idea how to say that, where Jewish families lived. Cited. Many tended to excoriate the sight of infected families. Cited. At this time, doctors could not intervene with ailing Jews, yet Lazowski did so anyway. Cited. If someone was ever sick, they would tie a rag to the fence, notifying Lazowski to sneak in at night and help the sickly. Cited. Now, here is my question. Do each and every one of those sentences support the idea that he is brave for helping sick people in the ghetto? The first one, yep, that works. Second one, does that support the idea he's helping the sick? Ooh, many tended to excoriate the sight of the infected families. That feels awkward. Well, maybe it feels awkward because of that vocab word. So we go and we look up excoriate. Maybe we don't totally understand it, but you know what I can do? I can go to the internet and I can search for sample sentence excoriate. And when I do, I'm going to find, come on, will you scroll for me? Will you not scroll for me? You're not going to scroll for me. Oh, just a sec. Okay, I got it to scroll. Excoriate means to severely condemn. And so you want to look at how it's actually used in sample sentences. In his speech, the president will excoriate the dictator's actions. Okay. The church elders have no choice but to publicly excoriate the young minister who was convicted of selling drugs. How dare my mother excoriate me for getting pregnant outside of marriage? What you then want to do is say, okay, if I'm going to treat this like a fill in the blank, what phrase would you use to fill in each of these blank? Well, I would say will yell at big time. In his speech, the president will yell at big time the dictator's choices. The church elders have no choice but to yell at big time the young minister who was convicted of selling drugs. So let's go back and take a look. Does ours fit the pattern of you could put kind of yell at big time in there? Many tended to yell at big time the sight of the infected families. Okay. A, the word is used wrong, and B, that has nothing to do with it's forbidden to treat Jews, and Lazowski does it anyway. Because that is not supporting the claim, we need to get rid of it. At this time, doctors could not intervene with ailing Jews, yet Lazowski did. Does that support the claim? Oh, heck yeah, 100% that supports the claim, so we're good here. If someone was ever sick, they would tie a rag to the fence, notifying Lazowski to sneak in at night. Does that support the claim? Yep, so we're good here. So far, my claim is looking good. My evidence is looking good. So now I have to check out my commentary. So let's see what we have. A less courageous doctor. Well, that immediately tells me I'm set a contrast. A less courageous doctor could not have helped the Jews out of fear for his own life. Well, probably would not have helped the Jews out of fear for his own life. However, Lazowski surely assisted and saved many lives, proving how heroic his actions are. It's a little brief, but it certainly does work. So that I would say is okay. Evidence, I would say, is awesome. Okay, so now that leads us into the transition. More significantly, does that tell you that the next argument is going to be even better? Yes, and that helps build suspense. Ooh, that was a good argument. So what's going to be even better? Okay, Lazowski is brave for risking his life to save people from Nazi persecution. That is a different claim than the one we saw in the top. In the top, he's helping sick people. The second one is he's saving people from Nazis. So it is a different claim. So you do have two separate claims that are both supporting the idea that he's a heroic man. By the way, this topic sentence would have been just as effective if all you had said was Lazowski was a heroic man. So it's nice to have a little bit more and to have that willing to save the innocent, but realize that's not necessary. So let's take a look at this second argument. Lazowski is brave for risking his life to save people from the Nazis' persecution. Lazowski put his own life at risk by waging what he called a private war against the Nazis. Yes, it's cited. He created a fake epidemic that saved an estimated 8,000 people from enduring the atrocities that Germans would have inflicted upon them. Cited. If Nazis had discovered that Lazowski had made a haven for Polish Jews, Lazowski would have been executed. Cited. So, do each of those sentences prove that he is risking his life to challenge the Nazis? Well, does your first one prove that? That he waged what he called a private war? Yep. How about the second one? That he created a fake epidemic that saved 8,000 people from Nazi atrocities? Yep. And the third one, if the Nazis had discovered him, that he would have been executed? Yep. Each of those does a great job of proving that he is risking his life. So again, just like before, the evidence is awesome. Okay, commentary. This is similar to, ding ding, that tells you already that you are setting up a comparison. This is similar to how the popular hero Batman keeps Gotham City safe. Lazowski, like Batman, is called into action, even if it means putting his, there means multiple people, his own life in danger without the urge to capitulate. Capitulate meaning to give in. That word is used correctly. They could both end up in serious trouble and face difficult challenges, yet this does not stop their daring selves from doing what they believe is right in order to improve their part of the world. So I would say that this is good. Analogies or comparisons, those should always be sort of audience specific. And what I mean by that is this, using Batman, this argument is going to be really, really effective for a teenage audience or a younger audience. It probably wouldn't work as well for an adult audience, so wouldn't be making comparisons to Batman in college papers, but in high school, that's a really nice comparison to make. So the second half, remember, the second argument should always be the better argument, so it should go good, better. And here I see that. This is a good argument up top, number one, and number two is a better argument. Now, last we have a conclusion. I'm looking for three things. First of all, I see that there is a concluding transition. So conclusively. So that's my closing transition, which does work very well. Lazowski clearly imitates a true hero. So the next thing is I need to have something that ties back to the opening. And I do tie back to the opening, but I do have a little bit of a problem here. If I imitate something, that means I don't really have it. I'm not embodying it. I'm just pretending. And so the word imitate here is where I probably get in trouble with my third element. Because you see, my number one element in a conclusion is a transition. I have that. The number two element, that's going to be a tie back to the topic sentence, and I have that. But the third element, number three, is that you should have an intensifier. Whatever you believe up top, you should believe it even more strongly in the bottom. So I should have something like, conclusively, Lazowski definitely embodies the soul of a true hero, so that I get that yeah moment in the end. Instead, with the word imitates, which is sort of in the same family with pretends, you actually get a weakening of it. So instead of having something that's more intense, you have something that's less intense. So overall, I would say this is a really awesome paragraph. But I would also say that if this were my team member whose paragraph I was reading, I would probably make a couple of comments about places where they could improve. So on the simple side, I might, point out that you've got that dropped word. And you've got the vocab that's used a little bit off. And the intensifier is an issue. But if this were my team member whose paper I was reading, I would also point out that their topic sentence is awesome, that their two claims do a really good job of matching up to that topic sentence, that the transitions in this are really, really nicely done, that the citations are awesome, not a single sentence gets dropped in terms of citations, and that this comparison has a really nice comparison to something that I'm very familiar with. And so that makes a nice comparison analogy there. So there is a lot that's done here. couple of things that could be improved, but let's take a look at another one. Okay, here's a new one. Now, my first question is, when you're evaluating, what are you looking for? And I will give you a hint. Does that ring any bells? So what's the first thing you should look for? Okay, so I've highlighted your topic sentence and your two claims. So let's take a look at this. Topic sentence, the way Eugene Lazowski risks his life to protect others is courageous and bold. So we have protecting others, being courageous is your topic. So each of those two claims should fit under him being courageous. So he cultivated a fake disease to save many lives. Is that him? Does that fit underneath risking his life to protect others? Okay, we may need to give them some feedback there. So the second one, that wouldn't stop him from faltering as his, because we got to focus on Lazowski here. Determination and bravery kept him moving forward. So how does that fit under he risks his life to protect, that his risking his life to protect others is courageous and bold? Okay, in both cases, I can definitely see the ideas are right, but this is a classmate that might need a little bit more help to clarify some of their ideas. So we need to talk about how you can check yourself and how you can help each other. So he cultivated a fake disease to save many lives. That is supposed to be a claim. And remember, a claim should be an opinion. But what we have here is a fact. So let's take a look at the actual evidence. After escaping a German POW camp, he returned to his home that was backed up against a Jewish ghetto where diseases ran rampant. Cited. Oops, I meant to highlight that, and I accidentally erased that. Let me hit the highlighter. That is cited. Awesome. First, he was forbidden from treating any Jews, and yet, instead of staying safe, he gambled his life by arranging a covert way of helping them. Cited. In fact, secondly, Lazowski almost got caught for faking a typhus epidemic, but with his steadfast courage, he was able to deceive the Nazis and saved an estimated 8,000 people during the 3-year campaign. Cited. The evidence is really, really awesome here. It's specific. The quotes are well embedded. But what we need to help this person do, because the evidence is wonderful, is we have to help them come up with a better claim. So what we're looking for is, okay, he cultivated a fake disease. That's just a fact. What opinion do you have that would fit under the idea of he is courageous because he risks his life? Okay, well, what do you think of him risking his life? How does he risk his life? Why does he risk his life? When does he risk his life? So let's take a look. The way Eugene Lazowski risked his life to protect others is courageous and bold. By cultivating a fake disease, he proved his bravery. How is he courageous? By cultivating a fake disease. So you can see the same ideas are there. It just needs to focus more on opinion. If I say, by cultivating a fake disease, he proved his bravery, nowhere in the article does it say he proved his bravery by cultivating a fake disease. Versus it does directly in the article say he cultivated a fake disease. So you just need to make sure that you're focusing on your own opinions. And of course, now this wonderful evidence supports that claim. So let's take a look now at let me pull a highlighter up here, the commentary. And Eugene Lazowski is like Harriet Tubman during the Civil War. They both escaped confinement and subsequently helped many people from persecution. Lazowski and Tubman were playing with fire and knew full well that getting caught would end with their unfortunate demise. That is a great comparison because it's something that certainly Americans have a lot more familiarity with. And so we all understand the great bravery that Harriet Tubman showed. So by comparing that to Eugene Lazowski, that really helps highlight the great courage he's showing. So make sure you're cleaning the language up a little bit. Okay, lastly, however, what do you think of that transition? Remember, transition should tell me that what comes after is going to be even more powerful than what came before. Does lastly, however, accomplish that? No. So that probably needs to be cleaned up a little bit in terms of transitions, but there is a transition there. Let me switch back to highlighter. Lastly, however, that wouldn't stop him from faltering as his determination and bravery kept him moving forward. So, I'm not sure what the reference to that wouldn't stop him from faltering. So I would probably just say, let me change to a pencil. His determination and bravery kept him moving forward. How? Why? That's a little vague. So let's take a look at the evidence. Despite potentially, again, dang it, I keep crossing stuff out instead of grabbing my highlighter. I will start grabbing the right pens, promise. Okay. So, despite potentially getting caught, shows his boldness. Clean up the sentence structure. Since Lazowski was forbidden from treating any Jews, he snuck into the ghetto and treated them at night. To avoid Nazis being suspicious, he fudged his records to make it seem like he used more supplies to treat non-Jewish patients. And you can see these are both cited. But you can also see this isn't, despite potentially, God dang it, I keep pulling the wrong thing. You can see here, that's not cited because that's our actual claim. Despite potentially getting caught, and we are missing some words in there. Despite potentially getting caught, his determination to fight back shows his boldness. So I would actually, because you have two claims here, and I would just stick with this second one, which is stronger. And now this does show that he is determined to fight back. If he wasn't bold, now the minute you have if he wasn't, that is showing you that you're going with contrast commentary. Then he wouldn't have tried to treat any of the Jewish people. Instead, despite knowing all the risks, he treated the sick people in the Jewish ghetto, which prevented many deaths. This shows Eugene Lazowski would risk his life to save others. I'm going to put a period right there. So we're seeing there that you have a very nice contrast commentary, but we have a few things that we need to get altered. First, what would you tell, if this is your classmate, what would you tell your classmate about their transition in the middle? Yep, it needs to be an order of importance transition. So we should have something like more importantly. What would you tell your classmate about that second claim. First of all, what is one good thing about this claim? I would say that one of the good things about this claim is that idea that he is showing his boldness despite the danger of getting caught, that it still fits well under the topic sentence. That's good. So what is one thing that needs to be better in that claim, that second claim? I would point out two things, that there are essentially two sentences of claim here, and you need to have one, and that this one is not a complete sentence. And so that needs to be cleaned up a little bit. What would you tell your classmate here about the evidence sections? Yeah, I would say that the evidence here is really, really well done. The quotes are embedded well. Everything is cited. It supports the claims, so I like that. What are you going to tell your classmate about the conclusion, which is he is courageous and bold? Remember, you should have 3 things. So right now, what are you going to say about the 3 things? Of the 3 things, I would say 1 is done well, 2 need to be changed. Okay, of these 3 things, there is no closing transition. And so one of the things that I would say if this were my classmate is you need to have a closing transition. Something like, in the final analysis. Tie back to topic sentence is there. You've got courageous and bold, which ties to courageous and bold. Now, I would choose to rephrase it so I'm not repeating exactly. So it could be better, but that is there. However, it is definitely not more intense. So in the final analysis, Lazowski is definitely one of the bravest men of World War II. And so definitely would get you that more intense, bravest, would tie back to topic sentence without repeating that courageous and bold. And then in the final analysis would be the closing transition. So this has a whole lot that is right with it. It also has a few things that if they were changed would become much, much stronger. So your goal is to be able to give people feedback that helps them grow stronger and to really understand paragraphing before you go into the final. Do not go into the final until you get feedback on this paragraph and make sure that you know what you're doing, because you can't afford to blow the final for the class. But let's take a look at another one. Okay, the first thing I'm hoping that you would say to your classmate is, dude, you do remember that you're supposed to indent paragraphs, right? So you should probably put a paragraph indent on that. That would be awesome. Thank you. So other than please indent your paragraphs, what is the first thing that you are going to look for? Again, I will give you a hint. So what's the first thing you should look for when you are helping someone evaluate a paragraph? Okay, so the question is, do the 2 claims fit under the umbrella? So let's take a look. We have Dr. Lazowski is a very brave person for many reasons. So this is a little bit more generic than the previous 2, but it's still perfectly fine. So Eugene Lazowski showed courage when facing the Nazi occupiers. Does that fit under brave? Yes. Lazowski is very brave and outgoing doctor by willing to put his life at stake to save thousands of others. Does that fit under brave? Yes, but I do see something here that concerns me a little bit. My question is, this should be reason number 1 and reason number 2, but this kind of sounds like reason number 1 and then reason number 1 again. Like, what's the difference between these two? So, may need to go and do a little bit of editing, but let's take a look at what we have for facts and let's see if we can kind of figure out what's going on here. So, during the German occupation of Poland, 20% of the population were killed by Nazis. Thank you for citing. I appreciate that greatly. Despite the Germans' clear negligence, the lives of everyone but themselves, Lazowski was confronted with a special task to prevent diseases and treat sick people. Most notably, he felt he had to defend their lives and the lives of their countrymen. So all of those are really about how he is saving Poles from the Nazis. Okay, that's legit. So we're going to have to try and figure out how that's different in the second half, but let's just take a look at this first half. So, commentary. Any other, whoop, ding, ding, we know we're going to have contrast. Any other scared or much less brave doctor, little awkwardly phrased there. Any other scared or cowardly doctor would have done as told by the Germans and would have just remained silent and watched the Nazi reign of terror feebly. Okay, that's all well and good, but you need to follow that up. When you are doing contrast, you have to say, you know, others would have done X, but then you have to tell me, our guy did Y, therefore our guy has this trait. So other doctors would have, you know, remained silent, all well and good, but now you need to follow that up with Dr. Lazowski, you know, took action. Therefore, he is brave compared to what most people would have done. So this commentary here is incomplete. It only has part of that contrast pattern. Other people, you know, if someone had less, they would have done this. Our guy didn't do that. Therefore, our guy fits the trait. So this is going to be a really, really easy fix. Any other scared or less brave doctor would have done as told by the Germans and would have remained silent and watched the Nazi reign of terror feebly. However, Dr. Lazowski took action despite the danger. This shows his great courage. So you just need to go ahead and finish out the rest of the pattern. This part is here, and you just need to get the last part of the pattern in place. So remember, we're still going to have to take a look at how are these facts different from in the second half, because you want to make sure that you're giving me two different reasons why I should believe the topic. And right now, it kind of feels like he's brave. He's brave because he faced the Nazis. He's brave because he faced the Nazis. Okay, how are they different? So let's take a look. So in the second half, he knew when someone in the ghetto was ill because there would be a rag tied to the fence. Thank you for citations. He would sneak in at night. Thank you for citations. This gave him the idea to create that fake typhus to keep the Polish Jews away from their lives. Thank you for citation. Ooh, ding, ding. I have right now figured out what is the very important difference between the first argument and the second argument. I can see it. Can you see it? So what is the difference between the facts in number 1 and the facts in number 2? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Okay. The facts in number 1 really seem to be focused far more on the Poles. Which means, yes, the Jews, but also the Polish people more generally. So this is focused more on Polish citizens. This is focused more on the Jews. So go ahead and let's get that into the actual claim so that I have a very clear understanding of what the two arguments are. Showed courage when defending his countrymen against the Nazi occupiers. That's going to be our first claim. And now our second claim. Well, our second claim right now is he's very brave and outgoing by putting his life at stake to save thousands of others. Well, who are the thousands of others? To save thousands of Jews targeted by the Nazis. So now we're saying, look, he first took care of citizens in general, but then specifically, he was very concerned with helping this ethnic subgroup of citizens who were being targeted. So we've got there, that could be cleaned up pretty easily. Like the other two, the evidence here is really just strong. It's well embedded. You've got good facts. Everything is cited. So let's take a look at this commentary. Lazowski is not like other people, so we're setting up with contrast. Now remember, up top, the contrast was only partially completed, so let's take a look at how this does. Lazowski is not like other people. He didn't just sit back and watch all the Polish Jews get taken away and killed. He actually did something about it. He risked his life to save others by coming up with a risky plan and not backing down. So, what do you think? What is one good thing you could say? And what is one thing that needs to be added or corrected to make that commentary better? Okay, the good thing is you're seeing more of the pattern here. So you have that other people would have sat back and watched them get taken away. He did something about it. So remember, the pattern is, other people would be X, our guy is Y, therefore we can draw this conclusion about our guy. And so you have that, other people would sit back, they would have stayed out of it. He actually did something. So we're getting closer to the pattern, but we're still missing one thing. What is our topic sentence? Y'all see it? What is it that we have in our claim? Y'all see it? We're still missing the last part of our pattern, and that is, therefore, he is very brave. In essence, there's your closing transition. So you do have a closing transition going on here. In essence, the facts shown above prove Dr. Lazowski was a courageous and brave person. So you have up top, we have brave. Here you have courageous and brave, a little bit of restatement. I might put a stronger intensifier, the facts shown above definitely prove, or without a question, without a doubt prove. So you might have a little bit more of an intensifier, but this is one of the stronger conclusions that we've seen. Now, my guess is you are looking at that transition going, well, that's wrong. Okay. It's not what I've shown you. This is what's called a bridge transition. A bridge transition makes a reference, don't spell wrong, but it makes a reference to the previous section, before it then goes into what the next section is going to be about. So this is a legit type of transition. It's just a bridge transition, which is not one that I have taught you yet. So it's probably a lot easier for you guys if you stick with something like, more importantly, more significantly, even more compellingly, of far more import is. But that transition certainly works. So overall, if this were your classmate, what are 2 things that you would say this person is doing really, really well? Okay, what is one thing that this person could do better? Okay, if I were to go through that, I would say this person is doing a fabulous job with the facts. The vocabulary in here is really good. The topic sentence does in fact capture both of the claims, and that's really nice. You have commentary on both sides. The paragraph is structured well. What needs to be improved? Well, the commentary needs to follow all the way through with a complete contrast pattern. The claims need to be a little bit more distinct, so it's clear how the 2 halves of the paragraph are a little bit different. So there are a lot of good qualities here, and there are a few things to improve. So hopefully this will really help you get your head wrapped around what it is I'm looking for and what you should have in a good, strong paragraph. It is so important for your success in high school and in college that you be able to write logically. So I'm going to ask that you pair up with someone in your group and that you trade papers. Go up to the share that is in the upper left-hand corner and share your document with someone else in your group and get feedback. What are you doing really well? What could you do better? Give feedback to several of your group members. The more paragraphs you look at, the more you go through and you debate what works well, what doesn't work, what needs to be improved, the clearer your ideas are going to become on how you should actually write your paragraph. And it is really vital that you knock this next paragraph out of the ballpark because it is 15% of the grade for the entire class. That is huge. So I want all of you to show me your brilliance. And honestly, I think you are going to show me brilliance because I'm seeing some really good paragraphs.